Fairfax County actually had an 82% response rate to a recent survey, and the overall results of the survey were very positive. And I think we too would find the same climate survey in our areas in terms of faring well. I heard from one local school district about some of the ways they use their survey results. They share results with the teachers, the principals, and leaders, seek input from teachers on how to improve in strategic areas, set goals at both the school level and the system-wide level, and develop specific actions, plan professional learning opportunities, and track the results over time. It is very important that we hire an outside professional survey company to design, conduct, and analyze a survey for us. First of all, the questions have to be written by someone with expertise so they are not biased, loaded, or designed to achieve a certain outcome. The questions also have to be properly selected so that we are asking about things we can actually fix, if they need fixing. The employees have to be 100% assured that their answers are anonymous. If not, we will not get complete honest answers or significant response in terms of numbers. And I just want to comment that one of the reasons Melissa and I have been talking so much is not only am I a parent of a couple kids in high school and a middle schooler, but I also am and was a teacher. I've taught at TJ a number of hours, a number of days, a number of years. Love the schools, love the kids, love the families, both as neighbors, friends, but also through their children. And if we can help teachers feel very happy here, and as a teacher I know this, when I was happiest, it was when I felt the morale was up and we worked as a group. And I think that so positively affects the children. When you come in and you're in a bad mood and you see that bright face, or your teacher just says, hey, here's a cup of coffee on me, or you want to talk afterwards or whatever, it makes such a huge difference. So from that point of view is also where I'm coming from. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, my last speaker is Shilpa Satoskar, but if there's anybody else who would like to speak, just say so after she's done.
Hello, I'm Shilpa Satoskar, and I live at 314 Grove Avenue in Falls Church. I just have a few things to say. I was one of the parents who authored the letter on behalf of 30-some families about urging you all to hire another GT specialist at Thomas Jefferson. And just to reiterate one thing that we put in the letter, there's been a concern, I think, for a while at TJ that the numbers of kids in the ACE program, particularly the kids that are being pulled out, the number has been increasing exponentially, and that the staffing has remained the same over the decade that the numbers have been going up. They've doubled, apparently, in the last 10 years. And I know Mr. Palermo also requested funding for another teacher, and we all know that funding is tight and all of that, but we just want to add our voices to that recommendation from Mr. Palermo, because, you know, we have a lot of kids at TJ whose needs just aren't being met in the regular classroom every day, and so because of that, I think the time that they spend with the specialist is extremely important for those kids. And, you know, Heidi Lang is now teaching 150 kids at TJ, trying to juggle all of that along with working on assessing children, identifying them for the gifted program, and she's very overburdened as well, and that again affects the kids. Along those lines too, I took a very quick look at the budget documents, and I just wanted to make a couple points about that. I guess there's no page numbers, but on the staffing chart that goes by grade for TJ, it seems to list for third, fourth, and fifth each that there's one full-time gifted specialist, but actually it's the same person. So really each grade has 1/3 of a gifted specialist. And it seems to me, based on the numbers that are in this document, and also what as parents we've experienced with our children, and the change in how often they get to see the gifted specialist and the quality of that time and the size of the classes, that the staffing has not really been tied to the number of kids who are being pulled out every year, and it changes every year, of course, so it's hard to do it all in advance. We understand that. But just as an example, I mean, according to this document, right now there's quite a variety in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. In 5th grade, there are 36 kids that are have been deemed to need the services from Ms. Lang. So 36 in 5th grade, there's 50 in 4th grade, and 60 in 3rd grade. So it's really going up, and yet they each grade only has a third of a specialist. So it doesn't seem to me that it's being tied, the staffing is being tied very well to the number of kids who need it. I think given that funding is tight, I mean, we would love for there to be another GT specialist, but we do understand the funding issues. I would say, you know, if that's just completely impossible, having a half-time person, I think, would improve the situation a lot. If there, I mean,
Okay, could you wrap up? Sorry, your time.
Oh, sorry, that was my timer? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll wrap up. And I just want to support the survey as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Anybody else want to speak? Okay, please. Since we don't have a slip, make sure to give us name, address, and everything.
Hi, I'm Julie Harrison. I live at 1220 Ellison Street. I'm also here to support the teacher survey, and I would also additionally like to propose a student climate survey. I think that this is very important because these are the individuals that are impacted with everything that we're talking about. I know that MEH recently did a survey of the students, primarily focused on bullying. I think the responses were fantastic insofar as the percentage of students who did the survey, and there were some great results and also some surprising results. Probably the Mount Daniel would not be involved in a student survey, but TJ, MEH, and George Mason. I even think that some of the students could help to write the questions. And the questions could be along the lines of, do you feel like your classes are challenging? Do you feel like there's enough extracurricular activities? Do you think there's too much homework? You know, anything that concerns them on a day-to-day level. So I think it's very relevant what the parents all think, what the community thinks, what you on the board think, but also what the students think. So I think we need to ask them individually as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Young sir, name and address.
Youth advocate, anyway. Kieran Sharp, 408 Southwest Street. I also want to speak in favor of the survey. Having had the experience of going to the various schools and listening to staff members who were able to attend particularly during budget times, I think those activities of outreach were very important, very useful, but they also only hit a very small fraction of the staff. And typically only the professional staff at each building rather than also the support staff was very, very seldom represented. Also the administrators were usually not among the group. So I would recommend that the survey as drafted is very, very well done. The research behind it, again, very, very well done. At a meeting on Wednesday night last, the CBC had about a dozen members present, passed a unanimous resolution in favor of the survey. And so I pass along their recommendation to you as well. And lastly, I'll just say congratulations on the awards that that the schools, the community has recently received, recognizing the really, really top quality of the schools. It's very hard to sustain that over any period of time. We've done so over a long period of time, but to continue to do it, it takes an ongoing assessment, reassessment of whether what you're doing is at the top of the game, and I'd urge you to continue to do the assessments that you've been doing, but add to them and make it even better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Boson, 605 Fulton Avenue. I'm also standing to support Mr. Renninger's proposal for a climate survey. not only on behalf of the teachers, whose opinion should, of course, be heard in some organized, institutionalized way that they know is coming so that they feel they have an outlet and a way to express themselves, but also for parents. As we all know, just prior to the election of the school board, an email went out and from a teacher anonymously, and I really don't know the background of that. I don't know who that was. I know nothing about it. But I do know that that instilled in bus stop talk, this feeling of, are our teachers all disgruntled? My goodness, is there a problem? Does the school board know? I think that if there was a climate survey in place, that would bring great comfort to the parents as well, to know that the teachers are having a chance to be heard. And I'd just like to also emphasize that an anonymous, strictly anonymous survey by a third party, that would be really important as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right. Last chance. Anyone else? Going once, twice? Okay. We'll close public comment. Moving on to the consent agenda. I would ask unanimous consent that the consent agenda be approved as presented. Any objections? No? All right. It's approved. Let me just say one thing. On this consent agenda tonight, we have decades of experience in Falls Church retiring. When I saw this list, I really couldn't believe it. Between Mrs. Haleko, Ms. Harbison, Ms. Piscopo, Pam Wilkie, and others, we're really losing decades and decades of Falls Church schools. The arts, I think, are getting hit the hardest. Still haven't had the heart to tell my son about either of them because, you grow up being in the plays, being in musicals, being in band and everything, and, you don't want them leaving. So we're not happy to see them go, but we were very fortunate to have them here. So I would just ask you all to take a look at the names and, reach out to wish them the best. Moving on, 7.01, approval of summer daycare fees. Dr. Jones?
Yes, and there's really nothing unusual about this. This is just the fees, and you'll notice that there is a slight increase, and the daycare board does evaluate this every year, and so this is what they're putting forward for this coming summer of 16.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about the fees? Comments? We still don't have Lawrence on the phone, do we?
No, he was, I'm going to text him when we get to that item. He was waiting.
Okay.
Because we actually need Mr. Castillo here as well.
Okay. All right, any comments, questions? Phil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Jones, could you explain a little bit about the mechanism by which the fees are determined? It says there hasn't been an increase in 5 years, but I assume that there's some additional detail behind it. Thank you.
I'm going to do my very best, and if I don't answer it well enough, we'll bring it back, because this is really Mr. Kimball's area that he oversees. The daycare board, is a community service board, and so they do operate separately, somewhat separately from the school, and that they do set their fees. They do look at an adjusted household income, and so they have that graduated scale, so that if a family earns $22,999 or below, it's a very minimal fee. They also do have scholarship that they can apply for if you have a family that's at risk, but it really is just a percentage, and they also look at in their operating budget trying to make sure they maintain a certain percentage in their operating budget on an annual basis.
All right, any other questions? No, we haven't. I could use a motion to approve them as presented.
I move to approve the 2016 FCCPS daycare summer fees as presented.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? All right, it's passed. To 7.02, dependent care leave. Dr. Jones?
Yes, this is an employee who has requested dependent care leave, and if this leave is approved, then tomorrow or very quickly we will be putting out for a leave sharing for the staff to allow the staff member to have an additional 45 days.